What would happen if a small handful placed beside your cup of coffee could already be affecting how steady, clear-headed, and resilient you feel by the end of the afternoon? And what would happen if the snack many men consider harmless and ordinary started to matter more once the body passes the age of 50 and gradually loses its reserve? I have spent many years explaining everyday nutrition to older men who want lasting strength without exaggeration. Today, I will explain this in simple, useful language for older men in everyday life. This matters to us. Cashews are not a miracle, but they fit into a smarter, healthier, stronger daily habit. Most men miss that until their energy begins to decline. Stay with me, because later on I will share a 10-second tip to evaluate your nut portion wisely with the smart confidence of a real man. Welcome, and thank you for being here. After the age of 50, the body no longer easily overlooks low-quality habits the way it once did. That is the big chain. A man keeps the same habits for many years, then realizes that mornings become slower, and recovery no longer comes as naturally as it did in youth. After the age of 60, that reserve is often even narrower, and ordinary choices begin to show clearer consequences for stamina and focus. You notice it in the afternoon slump, the irritability that comes faster, and the slower recovery. That is why an ordinary handful of cashews deserves to be looked at again in a more serious and honest way. Not because one food can change aging, but because what the body receives better each day still matters over time. That is the reality. Cashews provide helpful fats, a little protein, and minerals that older men often do not think about. Magnesium helps support steadier daily function. Zinc supports recovery and the body's normal activities, and copper supports important work at the cellular level. Put simply, that fits a body that is trying to stay steadier, clearer, and more resilient. They are also a better choice than pastries, crackers, candy, and the quick alert snacks that many men often rely on. Then afterward, your energy drops again. That matters even more in later life, when steadier energy often supports steadier days and clearer mornings. Not because of them alone, but within a better routine, they are far more useful than many older men first realize. Next, I will show you what cashews may realistically support and where moderation becomes most important for you. And then, later on, I will help you evaluate whether your daily nut portion is appropriate, too much, or in need of adjustment. Most men over 50 do not fall apart because of one dramatic health mistake. They slide into weaker daily patterns. A sweet bar in the truck, crackers in the afternoon, chips at night, and coffee carrying the morning farther than it should. That is how energy becomes unreliable. That is how appetite gets noisy. That is how a man starts saying he feels older, when part of the problem is not age alone, but the low-quality fuel he keeps repeating. This is where cashews become interesting. Not because they are magic, not because they reverse aging. They matter because they can interrupt a bad pattern with a better one. A small handful gives the body fat, a modest amount of protein, some fiber, and minerals such as magnesium and copper that older men often stop thinking about until function starts slipping. When a snack slows the pace of the next hunger wave, the body usually behaves better. When it pushes hunger faster, the whole day gets harder. That difference is not theoretical. Men feel it in the hours between meals. One snack leaves them searching drawers again in 40 minutes. Another gives them a steadier runway. After 50, that matters more than it used to, because blood sugar control, muscle recovery, blood pressure control, and hunger signaling are often less forgiving than they were at 35. The male body may still be strong, but it is usually less tolerant of repeated swings. Before we go further, ask yourself this. How many men over 50 are blaming age, when the real problem may be the snack they repeat every day? If that made you stop and think, comment "steady" below right now, and let that one word remind you that better aging often starts with one smarter daily choice. So what may happen when cashews become a daily habit? For many men, the first change is not dramatic at all. It is quieter, fewer sharp drops, less random grazing, less of that late morning or late afternoon feeling that the body is running on fumes even when plenty of calories have already been eaten. Cashews do not create superhuman energy. They may simply support steadier energy by replacing weaker snack habits that create a faster rise, a faster fall, and a stronger urge to keep eating. That is why the real question is not whether cashews are healthy in the abstract. The real question is what they are replacing. If they replace candy, sweet granola clusters, buttery crackers, or the second trip through the vending machine, the direction is often better. If they are added on top of all of that, the benefit gets blurry. Older men do not need more nutrition noise. They need simpler patterns that create fewer collisions inside the day. This is also where maturity matters. A man over 60 does not usually want a snack that feels exciting for 10 minutes and then punishes him with sleepiness, irritability, or overeating later. He wants steadiness. He wants to get through a drive, a meeting, an errand run, a workout, or a long afternoon without feeling his system wobble. A daily cashew habit may help create that steadier lane, not by forcing the body upward, but by making the day less chaotic. That kind of steadiness is easy to underestimate until a man realizes how many decisions get harder when hunger keeps interrupting judgment. And once that starts happening, another layer becomes easier to understand. The next layer is the mind. Not memory miracles, not sharper thinking overnight. Just the daily steadiness that many men miss after 50. Especially when they have started accepting brain fog as normal. Sometimes it is not normal. Sometimes it is the repeated consequence of poor sleep, stress, dehydration, medication load, and erratic food choices, all pulling in the same direction. A weak snack habit does not cause every mental slump, but it can make an already vulnerable system feel even less steady. Cashews may help here in a modest and useful way. Magnesium plays roles in nerve and muscle function, energy production, blood glucose control, and blood pressure regulation. Copper is involved in energy production and neurotransmitter-related processes. Those are not glamorous facts, but they matter because the brain does not perform separately from the rest of the body. A man who keeps running his day on sugar swings, under-eating protein, and patching fatigue with caffeine is often not dealing with a thinking problem alone. He is dealing with unstable inputs. Real life makes this obvious. The man who gets impatient by 3 in the afternoon. The man who stares at an email longer than he used to. The man who loses his rhythm after a sweet snack, then reaches for another one because he thinks he needs more fuel. Often he is not asking for more excitement. He is asking for more stability. That is a different nutritional problem. A daily handful of cashews can fit that need because they are more satisfying than many convenience snacks and less likely to act like quick kindling. They do not fix stress. They do not overcome poor sleep. They do not treat cognitive disease, but they may reduce one source of unnecessary turbulence. For older men, that counts. When the body is less jerked around, the mind often feels less jerked around too. This is one reason the cashew habit works best when it is intentional. Mid-morning with fruit, mid-afternoon with plain yogurt, in a measured portion beside tea or coffee instead of beside a pastry. That structure matters. Without structure, even a good food turns into background eating. With structure, it becomes a tool. The difference between those two is often the difference between a habit that helps and a habit that quietly backfires. And there is another overlooked part of daily sharpness. Satisfaction protects attention. Men who are underfed in quality often keep negotiating with hunger in the back of their minds. That pulls on concentration. It shortens patience. It makes small problems feel heavier than they are. A more satisfying snack does not only change the stomach, it can change the whole tone of the afternoon. Once again, nothing miraculous, just fewer internal disruptions. And when those disruptions fall, another later life concern comes into view. After 50, many men start talking about vision only when they finally need stronger glasses. But functional vision is bigger than that. It is reading labels quickly, judging distance at dusk, tracking traffic, moving confidently downstairs, and not feeling uncertain in dim places. Food will never replace eye care. Cashews are not an eye treatment. Still, the snack pattern a man repeats can either support or undermine some of the systems that long-term visual confidence depends on. This is where hype usually ruins the conversation. People want one food to save their eyes. That is not how aging works. The more honest frame is that eyes age inside a body, and that body depends on circulation, glucose control, pressure control, tissue maintenance, and overall nutrient quality. When older men eat like their metabolism has not changed, vision concerns often ride along with broader wear and tear. When snack choices improve, the benefit may not show up as a dramatic eye event. It may show up as less metabolic strain, feeding the same aging process. Cashews fit this frame because they can be part of a steadier dietary pattern instead of a more damaging one. That matters more than people think. Snacks built around sugar and refined starch can push bigger glucose swings. And food patterns high in sodium can worsen blood pressure over time. Those are body-wide issues, not just heart issues. And older men usually already know that the body does not separate itself neatly into little departments. When one system is strained daily, other systems often pay the bill later. So the value here is partly indirect. A better snack can help support better overall control, and better overall control supports confidence. That is the confidence to read, drive, move, and function, without feeling that the body is becoming unreliable in one more way. Men rarely talk about that loss of confidence early. They work around it. They squint more. They avoid night driving. They move slower on steps. They tell themselves, it is fine. But independence is built out of these little functions. And the goal after 50 is not only to live longer, it is to live with fewer quiet compromises. There is also a psychological benefit in this block that often gets ignored. Choosing a nutrient-dense snack instead of a weak one is a vote for self-respect. It says the body is still worth supporting even when nothing feels urgent. That matters in later life. Men who preserve function often do not do it through heroic acts. They do it through repeated, unglamorous decisions that reduce friction and support the basics. Cashews can fit that category well if they stay in their lane, because this is where strength enters the picture. Not bodybuilder fantasy. Real strength. That confidence is one reward of better routine quality, the kind that lets a man carry groceries without thinking twice, get off the floor more easily, stay steadier on his feet, recover better from a demanding day, and keep enough reserve to handle ordinary life without every task feeling heavier than it used to. That reserve becomes precious after 60. When it slips, men feel the loss everywhere. Cashews do not build muscle by themselves. They are not a stand-in for resistance training or adequate protein across the day, but they do belong to the group of nutrient-dense foods that can support a stronger aging routine. Older adults are encouraged to eat nutrient-dense protein foods, including nuts and seeds. Magnesium helps with muscle and nerve function, and copper helps with energy production and connective tissue processes. Put that together with the simple fact that nuts can replace empty-calorie snack foods, and the value becomes more practical than flashy. What often surprises men is that durability is strongly affected by what happens between meals. They focus on dinner, supplements, and workouts. Then they ignore the 2 or 3 week snack decisions that keep pulling the day off course. A man can train in the morning and still spend the rest of the day undercutting his own resilience with a pattern of quick calories and poor satisfaction. That is not laziness. It is usually habit drift, and habit drift is exactly where a daily cashew habit may help. If a measured handful becomes the default instead of cookies, sweet trail mix, or salty snack crackers, several things may improve at once. Satiety often lasts longer. Cravings may become less urgent. The total quality of the day can rise even if nothing dramatic changes on the scale right away. Many older men need that reminder. The body often improves by becoming more predictable before it becomes visibly different. But now we reach the caution that separates good advice from food worship. Cashews are dense. Useful, but dense. A small handful is one thing. Half a can in front of the television is something else. Salted, honey-coated, or heavily seasoned versions change the picture even more. What helps in a measured portion can quietly overshoot calories and sodium when eaten mindlessly. That matters for men watching weight, blood pressure, swelling, glucose, or evening appetite. A healthy food does not become harmless because the label sounds wholesome. This is even more important for men with kidney disease, fluid retention, heart failure, diabetes, or strong blood pressure concerns. Nuts can fit some eating patterns well, but people with chronic kidney disease may need to watch sodium, potassium, and phosphorus more carefully. Men with heart failure or hypertension need to be especially careful with salted nuts. Men managing diabetes need to remember that lower sugar does not mean eat freely. The smartest habit is not a heroic amount. It is a controlled amount used on purpose. Here is the 10-second tip. Before you eat cashews, pour them into a small cup or bowl, not into your hand from the bag, and pair them with water or a piece of fruit. That simple pause does 3 useful things. It defines the portion, slows the pace, and makes the snack behave like a decision instead of a reflex. For older men, that is often the exact difference between support and sabotage. So what may happen to a man over 50 when he eats cashews every day? Usually not a dramatic transformation, something better. The day may become steadier. Hunger may become less demanding. The mind may feel less buffeted by weak snack patterns. Function may get a little more support, and the routine may become more intelligent. Those outcomes are modest, but they are not small. In later life, modest changes repeated faithfully are often what protect independence the longest, and that is the real medical reading of this habit. Cashews are not the headline because they are extraordinary. They are the headline because they are ordinary enough to be repeated. When a simple food gives better structure, better satisfaction, and better nutrient quality than the snack it replaced, the body often notices. Not all at once, but steadily. That is how older men usually win. If a man over 50 starts eating cashews every day, the most honest answer is this: he may not feel a miracle, but he may be giving his body a better direction. A measured handful can mean fewer empty calories, a steadier snack pattern, more useful nutrients, and less dependence on the kind of convenience eating that makes later life feel more unstable than it needs to. That is the real point. After 50, and especially after 60, the body usually responds better to consistency than excitement. It often needs less nutritional drama and more repeatable support. Cashews can fit that picture well when they replace weaker snacks, when they are used in moderate portions, and when they stay part of a broader routine that still includes movement, enough protein, good sleep, medical care, and common sense. So this is not about perfection. It is not about treating one food like a shortcut. It is about making one daily choice a little more intelligent. A small handful is different from uncontrolled eating. Unsalted is often different from heavily salted. A planned snack is different from grazing at night in front of a screen. Those differences matter because older bodies feel repeated habits more clearly. And if you live with kidney disease, heart failure, or difficult blood pressure control, make that choice first with your care team or dietitian. Think in that direction. Ask one simple question: is this habit more nourishing, more satisfying, and easier to repeat than the snack it replaced? If the answer is yes, you are probably moving in a better lane. Please share this with a man who would benefit from a steadier, more realistic way to think about aging well. Subscribe if you want more practical, doctor-led guidance without hype. And comment steady if you want to remember that better health after 50 is often built through small daily choices. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of your body, protect your independence, and keep choosing the habits that help later life stay strong, clear, and dignified.